Dr. Oppenheimer. Dr. Oppenheimer. As we begin, I believe you have a statement to read into the record.
Yes, Your Honor.
This film was released more than a year ago, and it got just recently more boost because it got the Best Film Award, Oscar, 7 awards, including the Best Actor. So it's now means more people are wishing to see it and are able to see it. And as I said in my short remark, about 2 weeks ago, it opened in Japan for the first time. And from what I hear, what I read in the papers, that Japanese were not happy about it. They felt there was nothing shown about the destruction that actually happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Because I visited many, many years ago, Nagasaki, not Hiroshima. And there's a big, huge museum there of what all destruction that went on. So for Japan, it is of course the greatest momentous event. So I'll be delighted to any questions, any comments. It's a complex film, as you could see, 3 hour long, and touches on many things, the politics, the person's conscience, one's own ambivalence, and the role of science. And now, since then, Oppenheimer died quite young. He was 62 years of age. He died in 1966. And towards the end, he was honored by President Johnson, but initially it was President Kennedy who had decided to honor him with a called Fermi Award, which Enrico Fermi was one of the members of the team, and he was given this award, a very distinguished award, and so trying to make up. And then, as I said, just two years ago, year 22, his clearance was reinstated, defense clearance, accepting that what was done to him was not right, was wrong. So these are some of the things that country has done. So any questions, comments, anything?
I have a question about not only the movie, but the
Yes.
whole presentation, about the moral dilemma. The moral dilemma that is facing Oppenheimer. Mm-hmm. Of course, we can see in the movie, especially in the last part, how concerned he is about what he has done, and how he tries to break and stop it. But don't you think that a way or another, this bomb would have been built by a country, whatever the country?
There are 2 or 3 things keep in mind. First, in 1954, when the first hydrogen bomb was made, so it was being tested outside in the open, and it created incredible radiations and incredible destruction. And then Russia was using it, and then a few years later France was using it, then England, and then China for the first time made in 1964. So it was one after the other. India did not make it till 1998, and then Pakistan, and then Israel. So there are now 9 countries. So the one thing that came about, the pressures that were put on the community, and I'm proud to say that our Prime Minister of India, Nehru, first Prime Minister, in 1954, in the Parliament, he said we need to bring in international pressures to control the spread of atomic weapons. And then not only spread of weapons, the testing it out. So then they all agreed it should not be done in the open. Then it was done underground. Now it's not even being done underground either. So now they do it other ways of testing that it'll work. So, and then over the years, there have been a lot of attempts to control the number of weapons there should be. They have been cut down quite substantially. Happy situation, but not quite enough. And one of the leaders who I admire was the president of Russia, Soviet Union, Gorbachev, who came all the way to meet President Reagan in 1984 or 85. And he openly spoke. It is amazing to see that he came out of his car in Washington and spoke to the people in the USA that we must do something about it. Now, as you know, he was held by many people in Soviet Union responsible for the disintegration of Soviet. And fortunately, I was there when he died last year in Russia, a year and a half ago in Russia. So there have been some attempts in the right direction, but still incredible, hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent and resources. It has to, countries have to come together as a pledge, like it's not coming from religions. You know, Christianity says so, Judaism says, I don't think any of those leaders have that sway. It has to come from people who feel that this is not the way to spend our resources. Because it's not just having the weapons, to maintain them, to keep them, to make sure that they're okay. It costs billions of dollars every month. So the pressures have to come. More people speaking, your students and my students, our friends speaking. Why is it this? We need those resources for so many things that we need it for hunger, for healthcare, for museums, art galleries, for students' education. There are endless things that we could do. And so these are things, I think slowly and slowly. There is one organization that started in USA about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm quite active in it, called the World Beyond Wars. And in about 4 years ago, there was a big sign when the Republican Party was holding its, say 3% of what USA spends on so-called defense could end the whole hunger in the world. You know, people say, oh, amazing. So these are way people, unfortunately, all politicians in USA, most countries get a lot of money from these manufacturers of weapons. That's how they get elected. And so it's a very insidious things going on. Let me quote something from Albert Einstein. He's one of the greatest men, I feel, he's one of my gurus. I admire him very much. So he was asked, you're such a brilliant man. You're so much honored, respected, everybody considers you one of the greatest scientists ever. Why can't you solve these problems? He said, my dear friend, you know, he had a very heavy accent. My dear friend, physics is simple, politics is much too hard. I don't know how to do it. So that's a pity. It's true. It's true. Science seems very simple. The world of human politics, our ambitions, our desires, what we say, what we really mean, what we do, what we imply, so many layers of it. And so I wish more and more people would think of coming up with how we can do it. That's my way of looking at it. Yes, please.
Thank you. So my question is about, so I have perceived the karma of this person called Oppenheimer in different ways over time. And he probably, how he implies it in the movie, he also is confused.
Well, that's true. Big wars, if you've been in big wars, 100 million people, but USA has killed more than 30 million people since the end of war, mostly in Asia. There's no country in Asia America has not attacked, starting with Korea in 1950s, and China, and then in Vietnam, and then in Indonesia, then in Iraq and Iran, and then in Afghanistan. Endless wars going on. And when you start counting them, how many millions come in there, okay? They had threatened, let me share with you, they had threatened, there were talk of using atomic weapons in the Korean War. Okay, they were being told at that time, the president was Truman, same man who was president at the time of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he was being told by his general that we should use the weapons, we have these atomic weapons. And then, since you're a person from India, let me tell you, it was being threatened to use in Bangladesh war in 1971. Pakistan was being told they will give you weapons, atomic weapons, throw it over Bangladesh. And Nixon was the president at the time. He hated Indira Gandhi, the prime minister. You know, personally, he had a hatred against this person. So it's not like it has not been threatened. Now, this man, president of Russia, is threatening against Ukraine. Every so often it comes up. So and then it happened, almost came to the blow up in 1963, 62 in Cuba. So there are many, many occasions like this. My fear, as much as one can read it, that it will happen by accident. It will happen by accident. There was a person on a submarine, a Russian submarine, who had atomic weapons on it. And suddenly there was sirens going on that USA is attacked. And he had only 35 minutes to decide. And shaking because he had to decide to start the weapons from there. What goodwill prevailed on him, what angels came to him, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. And then it turned out to be a false alarm. And now he just died last week. There was a story about him, what happened to him. So my fear that with this incredible weapons in the hands of crazy people, there are crazy, I don't think of any leader in the world I say, yeah, he's all right, the crazy, incredible power. So my fear is that it might just happen by accident. And once it happens, I can't imagine what it would lead to. Really difficult. So we really need to, my own hope is that there should be efforts made, say, how do we eliminate it altogether? It has to be not just by one person or one country. It has to be done together as a people, as a nation, because otherwise they say, hey, Russia has it, why can't I have it? Or China has it, why shouldn't I have it? So that doesn't work like that. It has to be all together. Because all members of the Security Council, 5 of them permanent, they have it. Others have joined it. Israel has it. India has it. Pakistan has it. Turkey, Iran is talking about it, and so on. So really it has to be a concerted attempt by all people of goodwill and say, why don't we spend our resources on something like that? That's my hope, my wish. Yeah.
Just to come back to the first bomb, so you compared his actions to Arjuna in Mahabharata. So I was just trying to understand what your perspective was on that.
No, I don't believe in such idea of divinity. It's a human story, and so many forces are working. I'm sure if grander vision, we don't always understand it, but certainly some of the politics that came out today in the film. And then why is it the competition with other countries, or a fear of Russia or communism and this and that and that and that goes on. So why my comparing Arjuna with Oppenheimer, that in case of Arjuna, he's asking, should I do it? In case I say, why did I do it? Actually, there's a line which is not quoted here. I quoted in one of my articles. When he goes to see the president, Truman, he says, Mr. President, I feel I have blood on my hands. And the Truman pulls out his handkerchief, says, wipe your hands off. And then when he goes, a few minutes later, with great embarrassment, he leaves the office. He tells his secretary, I don't want to see this son of bitch in my office ever again. So he humiliated. Here is a man who was admired and he loved it, and everybody would think loved it. He also yearned for love of the country. He yearned, I think there was a hunger in him. Look, Einstein saying, I left Germany. Why can't you leave USA? He said, I left, to hell with you, these people, if they treat you like this. He left Germany in 1931 or so. And another thing interesting, Prime Minister Nehru in India, he offered citizenship to Oppenheimer in 1954. So you come here. Because they heard what was happening to him. And I think Nehru, in many ways, had a sense of the world more than any other leader in India has, I feel. Anyhow, he was invited, but it was a gesture. It's not he's going to. He loved America. He loved being there. But so he yearned for their love, their appreciation, their awards, their everything that comes with it. And where was he going to go if he was to leave? So these are the pulls in everybody's heart. So it was easy for people like Szilard to leave Hungary, and because they were feeling communism is coming, or they were feeling that they are not being treated well, they are Jews. It was awful time for a lot of people. So I don't know how easy it would be, but they were welcomed. They were given good salaries, good jobs. USA, many of them didn't speak English. But they were mathematicians, scientists, they don't need to speak so much English. But there was no other country who had that kind of offers. America gained a lot from these great scientists. Great. So these are the ongoing challenges that very much there.
Some questions regarding the movie.
Yes.
So in the last part, Oppenheimer and Edison has a conversation.
No, that is a way of putting it. Can't destroy the whole world. But you see the atom bomb that was used in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, now they look like firecrackers. They are small. There's nothing. Since then, the weapons that have been made, hydrogen bombs, they are 20, 30, 40,000 times bigger. Okay, these are little crackers. So they are, in a way, saying there's no end, bigger and bigger weapons. And in this film, again, I don't know how much you could notice, the man who opposed it was Edward Teller. He's called the father of H-bomb, hydrogen bomb. Okay, he's from Hungary. He's also a Jew. He had left Hungary because Hungary was taken over by the Soviet Union. So they felt angry against that. So come here, and it was his idea that we should make hydrogen bomb. He became very popular with the Defense Ministry of the USA. And he lived a long life. He lived to be 94 or so. And in later years of his life, in 1980s or so, he proposed called Star Wars to President Reagan, that we create a new kind of war. He was a real hawk. Okay, and many scientists hated him, and Oppenheimer didn't like him, and so you could see that his wife didn't want him to shake his hand. You could see in the film. Okay, so that's Edward Teller. Okay, that's the Hungarian scientist. Smart, but he felt we should not stop scientific progress, come what may. So he was very popular with the army, with the defense people, because he wanted bigger and bigger and bigger bombs. But other scientists, Leo Szilard was also from Hungary, he started a movement, a pacifist movement, how we should not involve countries that are in competition with us and see how we can arrive at something that is agreeable by all countries together. But obviously didn't succeed. Some control is there, far less now bombs than there were in 1950s, 60s. This was the called Cold War. And Cold War it could become hot war any day. So these two big countries did not fight against each other, but that did not stop from many other wars going on. As I said, so many Asian countries suffered it. So that's not to be wished away. The longest war that America has been involved was in Afghanistan, went on for 20 years, till about a year and a half ago. Yeah.
So the second question is, so in the movie, the Oppenheimer's girlfriend was suicide.
This big speculation going on, that did she commit suicide? She was a young girl, young woman. Obviously, the way it is portrayed in the film, in the book as well, that she was suffering from depression. And the fact that Oppenheimer went to see her during the making of the bomb, and she's asking him, why are you so busy? What are you doing? And he's not telling her. So, but he's obviously shocked when she commits suicide. And, but there are also some papers, some saying, was she killed or was she actually a suicide? Difficult to know sometimes. What goes on in the world of the espionage is very difficult to know what the truth is. Yeah, and then his wife was a very strong alcoholic. You see it a few times when something falls down, she has a bottle in her hand. Very addicted. So he had a very difficult relationship with women. And many of the women's relationship he had with the wives of others. So he really had no my reading of it, there's no self-confidence. Promiscuity, but lacking out of self-confidence.
So compared to atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb, which is more powerful?
Hydrogen bomb, 30,000 more powerful. Atom bomb is small, nothing. Yeah. The bombs that were used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they are not made anymore. They're very small. Now they make fusion bombs, hydrogen bombs. Fusion is much more energy. You need an atom bomb to start the hydrogen bomb. So that's part of the structure of it. India has been, all countries like Pakistan and India, many levels. There's so many challenges in the country for raise the lifestyle of people. It's poor countries for many people, hundreds of millions of people. I feel we should be spending our resources in a different way. And it seems not right that we should be, America is constantly coming, every president who comes to visit India wants to sell weapons to India. Trump came here 5 years ago. He sold what, $5 billion of weapons? And then Joe Biden, they're always, this is what they, and French president want to sell weapons. And then in order to sell something, you have got to say, oh, you have, China is your enemy, they're going to get you. So always create distrust and animosity. This is a very stupid and dangerous way. You know, I feel China and India could be the best of friends, should be the best of friends. You know, to fight over a few hundred acres of land at a height of 12,000 feet in the Himalayas, between countries which have each has a population of 1.4 billion people, seems stupid. Really. I went to Ladakh about 2 years ago. There are 50,000 Indian soldiers there. And many of them are from South India. They've never seen snow before. They're freezing. So I said to conversation, I said, you know, you should get some negotiators, peacekeepers from Canada. They would love to be here in the snow. They are, you know, Canadians love skiing. And give them 5 years. Say, you keep at peace. Nobody can come within 10 kilometers of each side. It'll be a peaceful way of solving things. Okay? Each side has about 50, 60,000 people, and land is not marked. It was never marked. And it's easy to fight. So when we look at the earth, you know, I say, earth, incredible that we have this earth, and then we fight over little pieces of land, of earth. So I feel we don't have any sense of the cosmic vision of life. Yeah, many good things have happened. You see, there was so much beating of children in the schools all over the world as to bring discipline. Now, in many countries, it is banned. And in Canada, there's a rule. If I see my neighbor beating a child, it is my duty, it's my legal duty to inform the police. If I don't, if I see it and don't, so that's, I think, a right step in the right direction. Okay? And then there are many, I'm sorry to say, that many men thought it is their God's dharma to beat their wives. It was done so much violence against women is so pervasive in so many parts of the world. Now, increasingly, it is being attended to and said, this is not right. You know, this is not right. Again, if I may quote in Canada, a child, 6-7-year-old child in the school is taught, if you see your mother being hit by your father, call 911. And literally within 5 minutes, the police arrives. And the police is often women police. And so it is beginning to change. Now it has not come about completely. So I think some things are in the right direction.
Just a question, maybe it will be related to my friend over there. He was asking a question about what to do and on what level. I mean, on that moral level, not the physics skills, of course. While Arjuna, I think, is more rare.
Yes.
The type of Arjuna is more rare.
There are many people, many critics of Bhagavad Gita who said Bhagavad Gita has promoted war. That where does it say that we need peace? And here is a man. How many commanders of any army anywhere in the human history have questioned, am I going to do it? Because if any commander were to do that, he will be replaced right away. You are not the right commander. We don't need you. So it is quite complex. I myself sometimes don't know if I fully agree with every aspect of it, of the Bhagavad Gita. But what I see, for myself, what I see of Krishna is Krishna is also a symbol of love and divinity, in the sense accepting anyone who comes out moves from his or her self-centeredness to a higher level of being, is accepted Krishna as Krishna devotee. So that's how I see it. But certainly it's not as simple as sometimes made out to be, his message. And then, as I shared with you, how about people who are actually soldiers, driven to fight? Do they have this luxury to ask, should I fight? They say, if you don't want to fight, don't enroll in the army. And they go hungry, die of hunger. That's exactly what happened in the First World War. There's 1.5 million people from India who went out to fight for the British. They were not, as I said, they had no idea where the hell Britain is, where France is. From all one can read, they didn't ever seen a white person. But they were recruited because they were poverty. So these are very few people have. Then something happened in the First World War in England. You have a whole lot of people who became conscientious objectors, who said, we don't want to fight. And they were laughed at, they were called sissies, they are timid, they are not man, they are cowards, they are trying to avoid. So they were given other tasks which was not actually confronted at the front, other tasks. And it has been now accepted in some countries, like a conscientious objector, that if you choose not to fight, it will be accepted. So this is I don't think there are many conscientious objectors in the human history before the First World War. There are some people who are not actually fighting, but as I mentioned, one of the great scientists, chemist Linus Pauling, he was invited by Oppenheimer. He was a young man at that time, 26 or so, 27. He was already being hailed as being a very brilliant man. He was invited to be the head of the chemistry section. And he refused. He says, I'm a pacifist, I will not do it. And so he's often quoted in various circles. And then later on, he was awarded Nobel Prize for chemistry, and then second time Nobel Prize for peace. Very incredible man. So these are also examples. But certainly temptations to follow what powers that be, they seduce you, they give you awards, they can give you huge salaries, monies, endless. It takes a lot of courage and sacrifice to say, no, that's not what I want to do. Yeah. Anybody else would? Certainly a film like this and a character like Oppenheimer, not a simple character. He himself was, he thought they were going to use the bomb against Germany. That's what had made them make this bomb, because they knew what Hitler was doing. And then many of them Jews, and they felt, he's going to wipe them off. But in the way things were, their testing was not done till July 15, 1945. Germany had already surrendered on May 7, 2 or 3 months before. So the country that was left was Japan. And Japan, also America had a lot of racial hatred against Japanese and against Chinese. And there were more than 110,000 Japanese were put in concentration camps in USA. They were taken away from the West Coast, also in Canada, and put in concentration camp. They were afraid that they will not be loyal to USA. And much later, apologies were expressed, there were some compensations were given, but there was a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment in USA, no denial, and against China. I have seen it myself with my Japanese friends and Chinese friends in Canada, how they were treated, and they remember that history.
Dropped on Japan instead of Germany. I mean, if it was dropped on Germany itself, the result would have been same. Just and
no, why I say that Germany, in the rest of the countries, that Germany was under Hitler, fascism, what it was doing to so many countries and killing and so on. So they felt a certain moral superiority or anger against Germany, but so was against Japan. Japan did awful things to many countries. The war, they won the war, that Hitler died, and so many of the Nazis were arrested or killed or put in or fled away to many countries. Actually, the country that attacked USA, Germany never attacked USA directly. The country that attacked was Japan in Pearl Harbor in December 6, 1941, I think it is. And so that made America quite angry, and that is also the beginning of America joining the war. Okay, so there was a lot of anti-Japan sentiment. But they felt that the real power to fight against, in terms of weapons, that Japan was not making the weapon. But they suspected that the other scientists, their friends, their gurus, their teachers who were there way back, Werner Heisenberg being one of them, that they are likely to be making it, and they have the know-how of making it, and so on. So these are some of the very political issues become very complex, no doubt. Look at the history of Europe. They have 28 countries coming together, European Union. unheard of after the war. I have a daughter who is half French. She tells me, Papa, I can't imagine that French and Germans will ever fight. I said, wonderful, but they've been fighting for 1,000 years. Incredible. I said, how is there some young person saying that we will never fight? What an incredible achievement. So that does not mean that a lot of other hanky-panky is not going on between the powers, but to see that these countries will have trade and you can live in Germany and you'll be French and so on. These are big achievements in the right direction. They have not fought with each other. They have killed other people, but not with each other. But these are the countries. Europe had more killings have happened in Europe and triggered by Europe than the rest of the world put together. Okay? So it is a big step in the right direction. Canada and USA are neighbors. We have the longest undefended border in the world, 6,000 kilometers long. We have not had a war for 200 years. It's undefended. You can just walk over from one side to the other. So it's not, completely up in the sky. Good things can happen. Wish that we would make more effort to learn how to live with Pakistan and Bangladesh and our neighbors and with China. It seems to be incredible that we spend so much resource, all countries. But effort has to be made. All, yeah, many efforts. But I don't think you need to give up on it. Okay? These are same people. This is always the case. The army, we make them martyrs, we give them awards, we give them ribbons and so on to make them feel that they are martyrs, but they are not making sacrifices, they are being sacrificed. All wars. I mentioned to you the war, the Crimean War, 1854, 160, 70 years ago. 650,000 people dying, like shocked. 6.5 lakh people. At a time when the world population was only about 15% of what it is today. And then wrote poems, great poems, cannons to the left and cannons to the right, make them feel they're great martyrs. Does anybody ever ask them, are you feeling like a martyr? Are you feeling what the heck can I do? Now what's happening, very interesting, the people coming from USA who fought in Afghanistan, more than 18, 20 people are killing themselves every day. They're killing themselves. More people have died at their own hands in USA in the last 5 years than they died in all wars in Iraq and Iraq and Afghanistan. Because they're saying who became rich out of these wars? Who are they fighting for? And they see all these multi-billionaires and companies say, wow, yeah, great war, wonderful. So first time people are beginning to say, who are we really fighting against? Really, that's a good thing to ask. Who are they fighting against? Okay, it's not as simple as, it's not all bhakti, desh bhakti and patriotism, this is all fancy words. Yeah, fancy empty words. Okay, thank you so much for your presence. Okay, thank you.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.